Hey guys, this is Mel, and I'm back to talk about the originals, episode 505, titled Don't It Just Break Your Heart, which premiered Wednesday, May 16th, 2018 on the CW. I'm recording on May 27th, as I just finished watching the episode maybe 2 hours ago through a live stream. I hate that I couldn't watch it on the 16th itself. But I had a previous engagement I had to attend. So with that said, huge spoiler alert. Haven't seen the episode already, please go do so first and then come back and see what I have to say about the episode. A lot was revealed, I guess you could say, in this one. But otherwise, my other video reminders are up on screen. Take a moment to remind yourselves of those as well. This is made for fun, purely to share my thoughts with you guys. So no money is made off of this. But anyways, I'm going to try to do this in 10 minutes. Let's start with the 10-minute clock, and let's begin with what happened in this episode. So timeline-wise, I believe it's the day after the event of 504, and 504 ended with Klaus getting a package of not only of Haley's mutilated crescent mark in the box, but of a coin predicting to his past. And I believe it's the following morning as the sun's up is when he goes and investigates about which of the vampires sent him that coin. So there's that. Also, timeline-wise, we do get flashbacks to the 1930s, which I'll talk about in a moment. But story lines in this episode, I picked up on 3 different ones. They all do connect with each other, though. So the first one pertains to the flashbacks of 1933 Germany. Second one being Greta's ultimatum. She reveals that she is the spokesperson, I guess, of the people who took Haley. And the third one deals with the events in France, which is kind of tying into the current events in New Orleans. So with the first storyline with the flashbacks, we are introduced to August, who is an artistic vampire known to be leading a clan of vampires from the looks of it that are slaughtering werewolves. So there's that. Also in this flashback, we see the reunion of Klaus and Elijah, as it's been 13 years since they've seen each other. Also, this is when Elijah first meets Antoinette, and it is because she is actually the daughter of August, who has a beef with Klaus, or they tend to have a beef with each other. So anyways, that's what we get in the flashbacks. With storyline number 2 with Greta's ultimatum, not only do we find out that she is the one behind Haley's kidnapping, but we do find out that Haley is still alive from her. And she gives the ultimatum to Klaus that either for Haley's freedom, they want Hope to endure the same curse placed on Klaus, which binds her werewolf side. Because Hope, as a hybrid, is deemed an impurity to vampires. As Greta says, she is a proud vampire. So we got the whole purity issue there. But anyways, also in France, though, Elijah not only realizes that Antoinette's past is coming back for her to try to pull her back in, but also the fact that he learns that Antoinette had met him in the 1930s and that their two families, her father and his brother, had a very bloody history with each other. And Elijah's not okay with the fact that she's been keeping this from him for the past 7 years while he's been unaware of their past encounters. So there's that. Last scenes of the episode show Hope sneaking out of the Salvatore boarding school with Roman to find a witch to do the binding spell on her to suppress that werewolf part of her, the curse, as it were, that Klaus had placed on him. So anyways, character-wise, though, we are introduced to August Mueller in the flashbacks, and he seems to have a superiority complex in which he views the wolves as scum, and they should be rid of this world, the mongrels as they were, which really sets Klaus off because that's essentially part of who he is as well. Also, we found out that Greta Sienna is actually August's wife from the 1930s. She was spared being killed because she had picked up Klaus's mercy coin. He still did that whole bit back then as well. So there's that. And we also find out who her 2 children are with August, and they were Antoinette, who is, of course, Elijah's fiance now, as well as Roman, which is Hope's crush back at school. So there's that. So tidbit-wise, though, first one is Klaus feels betrayed once again when Marcel tells Freya about Greta's ultimatum behind Klaus's back. So paranoid Klaus comes out for that. Also, we get Greta attacking Joshua in order for her to escape. We also get Greta confirming that Haley is still alive once again. And Haley is still not shown. She hasn't been seen since 501. So she's been missing for 4 episodes. So there's that. Also, flashbacks had mentioned Rebecca's Chicago fling with Stefan Salvatore before confirming the fact that Klaus had daggered her, which we saw in Vampire Diaries episode 303. So there's that. We also see Hope kissing Roman in this episode. Don't know if that's her true first kiss, but we definitely know it's her first kiss with him. So there's that. We also see Hope displaying her vampire agility with Freya. We've seen her fast healing in the previous episode, I believe, but we don't know if that was due to her vampire blood or if it was because of her magic healing her. But we do see Hope display some more vampire type abilities when it comes to climbing things and stuff like that, and a lot faster than a regular teenager would do as well. So there's that. Also, we see Joshua seeming to side with Hope, binding her werewolf side. He seems to agree with what Greta's trying to go for here, which doesn't go so well with Marcel. So moving on to the most shocking moment of the episode, I think it would have to be the fact that Greta, Antoinette, and Roman are all related to each other. Whether I believe they're truly blood related and not just vampire blood related. Yeah, that was a shock. I mean, I still don't know how I feel about that. But anyways, moving on to top 3 favorite moments. I have to say that my favorite would have to be the flashbacks, only because we got the Klaus and Elijah dynamic back together there. We have old Elijah back. We have them discussing histories between each other, talking about Rebecca as they know each other, talking about how they talked about Klaus's views on how he feels like he needs to protect the werewolves and how it's a part of him and how he wants Elijah to do something more than just talk a good game in protecting the werewolves, actually do something to defend them in a way that he never did. And then Elijah argues the fact that he's never seen Klaus be beaten. If Klaus suffered, he suffered too, type of a thing. So it's very interesting to have this dynamic back between the brothers, which I absolutely love, because it's what I'm used to, and the fact that we don't have that anymore with the current state Elijah's in has me missing this even more, so that's why I love it. Another favorite of mine has to be Hope's little display of her vampire agility to Freya. I thought that was pretty cool. It's great to know that she does have that part of her tapped in already. Does she have the need to drink blood at this moment? I have no idea. Wondering how that's going to go, since she is the first person born with vampire abilities. So I guess we'll have to wait and see about that. Also, another thing I liked about Hope and Freya was all the different Michelson tidbits she was learning from Freya. We have Freya, and when they were talking about how Hope cursing her werewolf side, like what had been done to Klaus, is the only way to get her mother back. Not only do we get the reference of Klaus having to do that same curse and what it felt like to him, he thinks it's a fate worse than death. He doesn't want Hope to endure the same pain he had to go through, but also we get Freya's version of that type of torture, where she lost so much time because of her Aunt Dahlia, how her connection spell allowed for Freya to lose huge chunks of time. Remember sleeping so long, like sleeping for 100 years and being awake only for a year, and then continuing that for 1,000 years. It was very interesting to see how the old Michelson history that we've known is being brought to Hope in a way that could help her understand her current situation right now, which is what I really, really like. I also really like the fact that they are tying back into the previous season's history, not only from the Vampire Diaries, but also from the originals as well. Vampire Diaries Season 2 for Klaus's, and original Season 2 for Freya's. It was just really interesting. I like when they bring stuff like that and show that tie-in with it, whether or not Hope actually truly understands the implications of what binding her, a part of her, is going to be. That would be the case. But yeah, I really don't want Hope to do this, because she's going to come to regret it later on. Plus, also, she has to worry about the fact that there's still part of the hollow inside of her. So there has to be, I fear that if binding her werewolf side is going to somehow strengthen the hollow part, because that's another side of Hope that the hollow doesn't have to fight against if it's locked away, if that makes any sense. But anyways, moving on to top 3 peeved moments. First one was, I don't like the fact that now that this episode has made me lose my trust in Roman and Antoinette. I mean, now I'm questioning whether or not they are just strategically placed into Elijah and Hope's lives just to provide them a distraction, and have their sole interest in being in these Michelsons to be a way to further Greta's purification agenda. I mean, I wanted to believe that Roman had an interest in Hope because of her, not because his mom has interest in her as a hybrid because she wants her to be purified of her status as a hybrid. And then with Antoinette, about whether or not she is a part of Elijah's life, because now without his memories, he has to kind of give a reason why he wouldn't want those memories back, type of thing. This episode has made me really lose my trust in Roman and Antoinette. I'll leave it at that. Second peeve was the fact that Greta escaped and poor Josh had to take the brute force of it, although I'm kind of surprised he didn't fight back. I mean, when she's like lashing out at him, I would figure the baser instinct of him to survive and fight back for a survivor would have kicked in, but it didn't look like that, so that was a big peeve for me there. And another peeve of mine, and there's the timer right now, I'll be very quick though, another peeve was the fact that Josh is more leaning towards advocating that Hope should have her werewolf side bound. I mean, he'd rather have a child inflicted with all this pain of not only the breaking of the bones to have the ritual take place, but then to also feel the forced breaking on every full moon, yet not having it unleashed the way Klaus has done and how he's explained. Joshua would rather have a child go through all that for the rest of her life just so that he could live in peace in New Orleans. It just makes it seem a lot more awful, because Josh used to be about the safety of others, and now he's just gunning for himself at the expense of a child, as it were. I mean, that's just too much to ask. I mean, if anything, leave town. This is another thing I don't like, is that they're doing all these things if they don't like the way the city is run, when they could easily leave the city. I mean, there is truly nothing tying them to the city, unlike if they were humans and it's much more difficult for them to leave the city. But as vampires, they have nothing holding them back to leave. It really disgusts me on a level that Josh is siding with the fact that Hope should go through this pain just so that he can live a more peaceful life. I mean, that just seems wrong on many levels. But anyways, moving on to what we'll remember most. We'll look back on this episode. Flashbacks for sure. We haven't had them in a while, I would say. So it was great to see them return as well, because it brought back the old Elijah. So I'll remember that. But random questions very quickly. I should have made this 15 minutes of a timer. But anyways, once again, question brings up the fact that doesn't Hope's involvement in Henry's transitioning into a hybrid, doesn't that count as her killing someone, which would have activated her werewolf gene? I mean, I'm still waiting for an answer on that. So please, if someone can enlighten me on that in the comments below, greatly appreciate it. New question though. Why did Klaus grant mercy to Greta and her children in the flashback? The mercy coin was only meant for one, and Greta begged for mercy for her children, yet not herself. And yet we see with the present day, all three of them were spared. So why was that for this case? Another question. Does Antoinette know about the threat being made against Hope? Like, does she purposely know that Greta is gunning for Elijah's niece, and that she's putting her through this so much pain, or is she truly just out of the loop with her mom, and it just so happens that she's going after the niece of her fiance? I mean, that might sway how I feel about Antoinette's involvement with Elijah, but yeah. Next question. If Hope was going to do the binding spell, what was going to replace the doppelganger blood that was needed in the first version of the spell that was used on Klaus? Right? So there's that. Last question. With the way that Freya was describing the marking of the ritual to Hope, did Klaus ever have those same marks done to him? He's talking about the palms of the hands, the soles of the feet, and then where the third eye is. So that's 5 points that was meant to be marked on Hope. And I'm wondering if Klaus was ever marked in some way like that. Initially, when she said marked, I was thinking kind of Mark of Cain type of thing that Dean Winchester had to deal with Supernatural, and then what Simon Lewis has to deal with on the Shadowhunters. But it seems like a different type of marking in this sense. So anyways, moving on to predictions very quickly, based off the promo for 506, which returns on May 30th. So it's 3 days since I'm recording this, but it would have, since 505 aired, it would have gave a week hiatus. But anyways, it shows that Caroline tells Klaus that Hope took off with a boy, which is Roman, and it looks like Klaus is determined to kill said boy. So there's that. Also looks like Klaus versus Elijah, as Elijah seems to have it in his head that the only person that could stop Klaus is Elijah. And I have a feeling that maybe Elijah goes after Klaus because Antoinette fears for her brother Roman's life. Minus the fact that they're both, or at least one of them, is gunning for his niece. So it's going to be twisting a lot of family loyalties around for sure from the looks of it. Also, question from that, when is Marcel going to compel Elijah back his memories? I'm really getting sick and tired of him foregoing his always and forever and just turning his back on his family. I want the old Elijah back. Why can't we have the old Elijah and him be in love with Antoinette? Because right now, I do not like the fact that Elijah is disregarding Hope's safety when for the first 7 years of her life, it's been everything is focused on her safety. So there's that. But synopsis for the episode, which is directed by Charles Michael Davies, which is Marcel. The synopsis reads that after learning how she can get Haley back, Hope sets off on a dangerous mission to end the mess she started. Klaus turns to Caroline for help when he discovers Hope's plan. Vincent and Freya clash over whether to let Declan in on New Orleans supernatural secrets. Also, Declan we haven't seen since 501. So there is that. Can't wait to see the return of Caroline in this episode, so I'm so excited for that. But otherwise, that's pretty much it I have to say. But moving on to other news, since it is a while since I've recorded anything, but on May 11th, it was announced that the spinoff for the series titled Legacies was picked up. And then on May 17th, it was revealed that it's going to be airing Thursdays at 9 p.m. starting in the fall. And so it'll be right after Supernatural. And the Legacies plot line that they gave was that continuing the tradition of the Vampire Diaries in the originals, the story of the next generation of supernatural beings at the Salvatore School for the Young and Gifted. Klaus Michelson's daughter, a 17-year-old Hope Michelson, Alaric Saltzman's twins, Lizzie and Josie Saltzman, and other young adults come of age in the most unconventional way possible, nurtured to be their best selves in spite of their worst compulsions. Will these young witches, vampires, and werewolves become the heroes they want to be or the villains they were born to be? It also said that Matt Davies is returning as Alaric Saltzman, Hope Michelson being played by Danielle Russell Ross. I have her name up on screen properly. She returns as Hope as a 17-year-old version of the show. I believe between this season of the originals and Legacies, there's going to be a 2-year gap between the two, but she returns as well. So it'll be interesting to see if we'll see any returns from Caroline, Dorian, or Jeremy, since they are connected to the Salvatore boarding school. So it'll be interesting to see that. But that's pretty much all the news that was stated in the last 2 weeks since I've been away from my videos for the originals. So with that said, what did you guys think of the episodes? What do you think is going to happen next? What'd you like? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, let me know what you think about the upcoming Legacies series as well. Love to hear your thoughts on that. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, check out my Tumblr page. The link for that is down below. I read blog promos, web clips, quotes, gifs, synopses, news, all that good stuff, all found in one place, so go check that out. Also, if you want to check out everything I post online, click on my WordPress account, link down below. More organized, more detailed, still a work in progress, so keep that in mind as well. If you want a more detailed recap of the episode, a play-by-play, if you will, check out my Livejournal entry link down below. In moments, thoughts, questions, as I watch the episode for the first time, as I'm summarizing for the first time, will be shown in that link. Keeps things organized for me, keeps me reminding of what I missed in case I do. So when I go check back, so I've been doing it since season 2 of Vampire Diaries, so continue it to the very end. But I hope you check it out if it's helpful. Otherwise, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your patience. Sorry for the delay for this video, but I hope you come back next week or to see what I say at about 5:06. But until then, this is Mel. Wish you all a great day, great week wherever you are. Bye for now.